I had a chance to look at the presidents of the Oklahoma City Metropolitan Realtors Association, and I see so many people on this list who helped build Oklahoma City. The first president, for example, was Anton Klassen, who served 1903 and then again 1916 to 1917. He came here to Oklahoma City in 1898, buying land way out in the country, as far north as 10th Street, $100 an acre. Helped build a streetcar to it, started selling lots for $1,000 a piece, adding value. The heart of real estate is you take undeveloped land, you put a house on it, you find a family that wants it, you sell it. And people, there's all this exchange of ideas. Well, Klassen was a proponent of parks. He was a proponent of beautified landscaping. He planted 2 trees in front of every home, at least 1 tree in the back, usually a pecan, and 2 sycamores in front was his style. But Klassen, with the streetcars, with his optimistic point of view of we are a community that should live together and develop together, was one of my heroes. The third president, G.A. Nichols, 1914. Of course, Doc Nichols was an 89er. I call him the great plunger. He loved to develop. So if you look at the heart of free enterprise, it's the willingness to believe that tomorrow's better than today, that you can invest and you're going to make more money tomorrow. That's optimism, and that you can add enough value. Well, G.A. Nichols was the ultimate example, and he was developing neighborhoods such as Heritage Hills and Jefferson Park and Paseo and Lincoln Terrace and Crown Heights, and of course his big one, Nichols Hills. But G.A. Nichols, as much as any one person from 1918 to the 1940s, really directed the development of the city. And developers have always had a very strong voice in development here, and I put realtors within that community of people developing and selling land, like Mr. Shield. I lived on the south side for 5 or 6 years. Shields Avenue was one of our Shield Boulevard, it was at the time, it was one of those diagonal streets. It was supposed to be beautified, going out to the jobs. You get the oil patch not far from Shields and 59th Street in 1928. You get the packing plants farther to the west, and so you get this community of Capitol Hill, Oil Patch, Stockyard City, all creating the DNA of Southside, but Mr. Shield was part of that. And as we move forward here, a few names that pop out at me. Mr. R.F. Workman. Mr. Workman was a developer. Belle Isle neighborhood was his development. And I noticed a man, Bud Bassett. He was president here in '59, but he was developing lands on the south side. And I had an uncle who was a carpenter, so I was actually working on a framing crew from 1966 all the way through college, so all the way through the mid-'70s. And the Bassetts were developers and building homes and creating jobs for people like me at the time. Gerald Gamble. His family had been involved with developing Del City in Midwest City after the Midwest Air Depot was established here in 1940, creating jobs, creating demand for housing. And Gerald, of course, would go into mainly specializing in commercial real estate. But he was president in 1973, and here we are 50 years later. Of course, everyone's heard of Marilyn Pryor. That may be one of the biggest groups of realtors in Oklahoma City. This entire list, it shows people who have been part of decisions. They've helped create jobs. They've created economic vitality by being part of city government, of working with within their community. And you have to have a lot of trust in the real estate business. By trusting others and being willing to share, like, yeah, you do this, I'm do this is my role, this is your role. Working with the banking community, with mortgage lenders that have really only been around since the 1960s, that they've created this industry that in large part drives the economy. And so all of these people have had a role in that. And of course, as we get into more recent days, the city is much bigger, so it's harder for any one industry, any one individual to chart the path like we did in the days of Klassen and Nichols, but still making a difference in the history in our neighborhoods, and I think most importantly to people like me, quality of life.